Now, as usual, before we move on, let's look at the elemental balance. Now, if you've been looking at some of the Twitch streams that I have been posting online, just now I've posted the most recent piece of the Taylor Swift stream that I did a couple of weeks ago. And that one, as a reminder, that one really was interesting because it had several singletons in it. In this particular case, we do have one singleton in the chart, and it is an Earth singleton. Okay, a singleton is one planet that represents either a quality, cardinal, fixed, or mutable, or one particular element, and it's the only one in the chart. And so it gets a lot of attention. So where's our Earth planet in this chart? Well, it happens to be the moon in Capricorn, up here in the 11th house. Now, since we're here, let's talk about the moon in Capricorn. The moon in Capricorn is a challenging moon placement. Remember that the moon's job is our emotional body. Okay, the whole range of our emotions. The moon also is what I call crisis mode, which means what's going to happen if there's some kind of incident in your life. What's the knee-jerk reaction? That's your moon. Mom is your moon, so your relationship with your mom, how you nurture people, sleep patterns, eating patterns, all of those are connected to the moon, as is our childhood. Mr. Gosling's chart is very interesting to me also because I am a Capricorn moon as well. Capricorn moon is what we call the moon in detriment because it is in the opposite sign of the most powerful sign that this planet could have. The moon resonates with Cancer. The moon rules, powers, if you will, the sign of Cancer. Well, Capricorn's the opposite sign, folks. And so for those of us with the moon in Capricorn, we start kind of 2 lengths behind everybody else. Now, as you've heard me say on this channel before, planets in detriment are not a problem because you have the opportunity to work on them. It's when you lean on them too hard and you don't work on them that there's a problem. But let's talk about the moon in Capricorn. I call the moon in Capricorn Hoover Dam, ladies and gentlemen, because the emotion of the moon is like a river. Hoover Dam blocks the emotion. So when you have the moon in Capricorn, you tend to suppress emotion. You don't want to show it. I like to think of the British military stiff upper lip. You could be in tremendous amount of pain, but you don't want to show anyone that you're in pain. You could be feeling emotionally overwhelmed, but you don't want anyone to see it because you feel like that would be a sign of weakness. Now, with the Capricorn moon, if you don't allow some, like a dam, some of the emotion out every once in a while, in other words, if you don't have people who are a safe space for you to let out that emotion or another outlet where you can get it out somehow, the dam's going to break and you're going to have an emotional shutdown or an emotional breakdown, or you're going to show that emotion at a place and time that you didn't pick. And so one of the things that you can see in this chart already is that this is someone who could have a rather serious demeanor and someone who may, at least as a child, may have struggled with making connections on an emotional level. I know for me, I definitely did. When I was a kid, I was extremely boring, okay? I didn't do much of anything. I towed the line, didn't want to get into trouble. The moon in Capricorn is all those things. And remember, in your life, your job is to grow from moon into sun. And so Ryan Gosling started off with a Capricorn moon. And ideally, you develop into your sun from your moon. Again, the challenge is if you sit there with a bad planet and say, well, I'm going to blame that for all the problems I have. That's when you run into trouble. And honestly, that's one of my biggest astrology pet peeves is when people look at their chart and say, oh, I'm supposed to act this way because my chart says so. No, the chart is where you start. You decide where you finish, ladies and gentlemen. Your astrology chart does not tell you how to behave. It is a set of tendencies. It's the astrological hand you've been dealt. You still get to choose how to play it. So we have the one Earth element planet in this chart as the moon. As such, it's going to get a lot of attention because it's the only Earth sign planet. When you only have one Earth planet, folks, you might struggle with resource management. Time, money, energy, trust, any of those things, you may struggle with those. And also, you may seek out people, partners, friends, romantic involvements, where there's Earth in that other person's chart. And of course, you don't always know, but you may gravitate toward earthy people for that reason.